There we go, Canada. Okay, so it's just gonna have these parts that are just in like a random position, and if I click this, there we go, look at that. All right, so with all of the, recent conflict that's been happening around the world, I'm sure you open up the news and you read, some country attacked this country, or, things are beginning to heat up between this country and this country, it's all around the globe now. And it's unfortunate, but it is part of human nature. I mean, we want to be territorial. We are proud of the place that we come from, right? Unless you really dislike it for some reason, I guess. But this is a very general rule that applies to the majority of people. And so I thought, wouldn't it be so great if I made that into a Roblox game? Now, obviously, I'm not saying that I'm gonna start adding like war and like bombs and stuff to my game. Obviously not, right? But I did think about this. And what makes games fun, typically, especially games where actual fighting is involved, or sorry, not especially, basically only games where fighting is involved, what makes them fun is that you have some sort of thing that you are fighting for, right? In most games, it's usually some sort of team. Like you have your team, you want to get more points, right? Even in a game like Among Us, which isn't a fighting game, as an imposter, you want to help your team win. As a crewmate, you want to catch the imposter and help your team win. It's all about either, helping your team, or at least, I guess, helping yourself get like more points than other people. So honestly, like a game about countries is perfect, right? Because imagine this, imagine you join a game, right? It detects the country that you're in. Obviously, it can't detect the country you're from, unfortunately. I don't think Roblox has the ability to contact like a hospital and be like, hey, where's this guy or girl? Like, where were they born? And then they're like, oh yeah, born in Spain or whatever. Like, they can't do that yet. I assume they might make some AI technology soon, but we're getting there. So I guess the country that you're currently in will have to do. But like, I just imagine that, you join, it takes the country you're in, and then it puts you like in a team that's, labeled that country, and then it's going to be you with other people within your country performing some sort of objective. I don't even know what yet, but performing some sort of objective that gets more score for your, team or country or whatever you want to call it. Now, in my video where I made a fake warning to scare Roblox players, which you can go check out after this one, I actually, I'm going to say, I got inspired, which means that I copied and pasted. I found this script from this guy, and he actually left a comment on my previous video. He's like, oh, hey, that's me. So he's cool with it, right? And this is effectively a script that takes the player's like location code and then turns that into an actual country. So if you want to read this code, I guess you can. I'll be honest, I don't even fully understand this myself. But seemingly, it makes all the variables, goes to like this website, which I guess contains names of countries, if I had to guess, and then does something with JSON decode or whatever, and then it prints the country that the player is from. So if I were to play the game right now, go to game settings and turn on allow HTTP requests. The only problem with doing this is that if I do go to game settings, it's prompting me to save the game to Roblox, which I'll be honest, I don't really want to do. So let me actually see, can I just do this from the terminal? Game, HTTP service, can I HTTP? Oh yeah, wait. Enable HTTP. And then, okay, if I just play the game right now, there we go, yeah. Okay, so I'm in Canada, so this thing just doxed me. I am terrified, bro. Damn. Yeah, I guess Roblox just wants people to like literally show up to my front door now. Like, this is insane what they're doing. But clearly this thing works, so that's pretty cool. And this is what it's printing, right? So, it printed Canada, but in the code, it's called country's code. So this thing, which I'll be honest, again, I'm not even too sure what this is, clearly is the name of the country. So if we want to use the name of the country for something, we just got to remember that this is what we should use. So instantly, the very first thing that I'm gonna do, and for some reason it didn't print it right now, I assume it's just like a studio bug or something, because usually it should be working. But every single item in Roblox, so items are like these things in the Explorer, right? It's like, my character, it's, the base plate, it's the spawn location, just all of this stuff. It has this thing in its properties window called an attribute. And what an attribute effectively is it's like a value, right? So you can give it the value a name, and then you can determine the type of value, right? So for example, if I, let's say, want to add an attribute to every single player that says what country they're from, I could say, okay, this is a string, as in a piece of text, and I can just call this country, right? Right now we're on the spawn location, but you know what I mean, right? And then inside of a script, I can create this attribute, and I can name this attribute, Canada. And so now we know that the player is from Canada. We might not necessarily even use this. We might do all of the changes immediately over here, but it's just good to always have a value inside of the player that tells us what their country actually is. But that is just one way of doing it, and funnily enough, it actually printed Canada now, so okay, I guess it works like half the time. Because the problem with using attributes, and look, we're gonna get into the meat and bones of the video very soon, I just gotta explain some stuff first. The issue with attributes is that you actually aren't able to really wait for an attribute, as far as I'm aware. Maybe there's some really hidden script out there or whatever, but if I know that a player should have an attribute, the problem with that is that I cannot wait for that attribute. I cannot say, okay, wait for this attribute, because if I try and get an attribute, if there's no attribute with that name, it just returns nothing, right? It's not able to wait for something. And this is a problem because let's say if the script is taking, you know, a little while for, like maybe the script is taking like 1 second to get my country, which isn't a big deal, but in that 1 second, other scripts could try and look for my country attribute. And because it just hasn't loaded in yet, they'll think, oh, it's nothing, right? So that's somewhat of a problem. However, you are able to wait for items. So if I were to, for example, add a string value into my character, like inside of a code, I can make a string value, I could wait until it says Canada or whatever, then I could, inside of the string value, I could say, oh yeah, the value is Canada, or whatever country you're from. And then once that's finally done, then I can take the value and actually place it inside of my player. And again, what's good about this is that you can actually wait for items, right? You can't wait for attributes, but you can wait for items. So I can do something like, you know, game, players, the original lamp, wait for child value, right? So I can wait for it, and then it's gonna wait for it. And so then once the value is actually added to the player, then the script is gonna do its thing. So yeah, I think using these string values is actually better than using attributes. So the way I'm gonna do this is I'm gonna say local country value is equal to, not minus, equals instance.new string value, like so. Then we're gonna say country value, right? Which again is the variable name that we gave it. Dot value is equal to this country's code thing, because again, remember, that's the name of our country. And then finally, country value dot parent, this is where we're going to actually place it inside of the player, and we have the player because of this, right? So whenever the player gets added, Roblox gives us the player who was added. And if I do it like this, let's see. See, it doesn't print it like half the time, but does this work? No, this doesn't. Yeah, I really think this is just some sort of like issue with either Studio or maybe the website that they're using. I'm not too sure. But okay, now it prints it, right? So if I go here, yeah, look at that. Yeah, so we have a value over here, and it's called Canada. And actually, something I forgot to do is actually rename the value. So right now, as you saw, it was just called value, right? So I'll say country value.name is equal to country value. So it's going to be named this and not just value as it was before. So, okay, we have the country of the player, right? And, you know, at least in my case, it works great. I am from Canada, right? Again, Roblox is terrible for doxing me like this, but it's accurate in doing so. Well, the very first thing that I feel like we could do is what if we just have a sign above the player that says where their country is from? Now, later what I want to do is I want to actually add teams for each country, right? So like, for example, if I had like a team, like something like this, right? And then I could call it like Canada, right? And then maybe I could give it like, I don't know, a red color. So then, you know, whenever a player joins with like a brand new country that, you know, the game hasn't seen yet, it could make a team for that country. And then, you know, it could take the player and then say, okay, your team is now, let me find the team, Canada. There we go. So now I'm inside of Canada. But the problem with that is that if the game has way too many players, which of course it will, because I'm just amazing and I have a lot of fans, and small thing, but if you do want to become part of the ByteBlox club, I don't know, I haven't found a good name for it yet. Like I said, I'm close to 100k, and the silver play button has been, I know it's like the least of your concerns right now, but bro, imagine a silver play button that says ByteBlox on it. Like, that's such a weird thing to own, you know, but you could help me get that. So if you're enjoying the videos, you know, do subscribe. It does mean a lot. But again, if we do have a lot of players, right, then, you know, when you see some player, you know, you have to now look through a bunch of players and you're like, oh, what country is this player from? So what if instead, again, we just have like a thing above the player's head that says which country they're from? And in case you're wondering how we can do this, this is actually pretty easy. Now, I said easy, but this actually will require quite a bit of steps, but don't worry, I'm going to explain everything in like a non-boring way, hopefully. Roblox has this thing called a billboard GUI. And a billboard GUI is something that you attach to a part. So as you can see, this is what it looks like. Right now we have nothing inside of it, but if I put something like text, for example, so let me just add a piece of text. Yeah, text label, and then if I just change the size to make it fully scaled, like so. Yeah, so as you can see, I don't have any text on here right now, so that's why it's blank. But if I were to add some text and, you know, remove the white background, then we would have text over here that surrounds the player's head. And just in case you missed it, it surrounds the player's head because I placed the billboard UI inside of the head. So this is actually a fairly simple thing. So just for fun, right? Let me say Canada, like so. And then let me remove the, let me find it, background transparency. Okay, so it's going to be fully invisible. I'll set the text color to be white. I am then going to give the text an outline like so. And yeah, as you can see already, we have Canada, which obviously, my big head, because it's very smart, is blocking the text. And another small problem is that if I actually zoom the camera out, you can see that the text doesn't actually really change size. Like I know it looks like it's getting bigger and smaller, but if you actually look at like this C, for example, like it's not actually changing. It's remaining the same. What I wanted to do is when I zoom out, I want the text to become smaller, and when I zoom in, I want the text to become bigger, right? Like I want it to look like an actual 3D part and not something that just is static on my screen. And the way I do this is if you go to size, it's using offset right now, which we don't want. I know you're probably like, oh, what is offset? I'll be completely honest, bro. I don't even know how to explain. I know what it is. From what I've read, it's like pixels on a screen, which, there you go. That's your explanation for me. But we need to use scale, because scale will actually, you guessed it, will scale to the camera. So I'm actually not sure what size I should use, but maybe something like this. Let's see. Yeah, I don't want to make it too big, but we could do, let's see. Yeah, even something like this honestly is fine. And then we just need to bring it a bit higher. So I'll go to studs offset, and we can do something like this. Let's see. Oh yeah, wonderful. There we go. So now whenever I walk around, it says Canada. I've been looking at this word for so long that it doesn't even feel real. You ever have that? Like you look at a word and it like loses all meaning? Canada. Like it just looks fake now. But okay, that aside, this is pretty cool, right? Because, Canada, it looks great. And I know it's white right now, but we can do something where, like, whenever we create a new team, we can probably assign it, like, a random color, which I know we probably would want to use, like, the flags or whatever. But, again, there's so many countries out there that, like, I don't know exactly how we can get the flags, nor how we can actually get their colors. And, I mean, obviously, if I were to go through every single country that Roblox supports, yes, I could, make a table, and I could say, okay, for this country, do this color, for this country, do that color, but then the video would be, like, a day long or something, which if you want to watch that, I guess let me know, but for now I will just make randomized colors, and then I'll assign those colors to this text. But okay, now all we have to do is actually add this text that I just made in game, which I'll actually copy this, because if I close the game right now, then all of this will disappear. I'm going to copy this. Now I'm going to end the game. And then what I'll do is inside of replicated storage, I'm going to paste that inside. And instead of saying Canada by default, I'll just make it say country or something. And I'll rename this to country GUI like so. So when it's inside of replicated storage, it's not going to exist in the 3D world, but it will exist as data. So I can take this, I can clone it like inside of a script, and then I could take that clone and then I could place it inside of every single player who joins the game. And then I could say, okay, what's your country? Let's set that as the text. Now, if you remember, I actually didn't place this inside of the player, right? I placed it inside of the player's 3D physical model. And this is called a character, for those who don't know. So instead of waiting for the player, because right now we're waiting for the player added, what we're going to do instead, or sorry, not instead, what we're going to do on top of this is we're going to take the player who we have, and we're going to say player, and we're going to say player character added connect function. And then we're going to get the character like so. The reason we're doing it like this, and the reason why we're not just getting the player's character immediately, because we can literally just say player.character. So we could get the character. But then what if the character respawns, right? Like what happens then? Because when the character respawns, every item inside of them that we added that wasn't there initially gets deleted, right? Which is a problem because we want this thing to remain here. But the good thing about character added is that this will fire both whenever the player first joins the game and whenever the player actually respawns. So we can just constantly keep on ensuring that the player will always have this thing inside of the head of the character. So I'm going to say local GUI is equal to game replicated storage country GUI clone. Then I'll say GUI.textlabel.text, and this is where we actually need the name of the country. Now, unfortunately, this country name seems to only be here, right? So this is where we're checking, okay, if it successfully went through, then we actually know that the player is inside of this country. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a variable over here called local player country. I hope that's not a variable already. No, it's not. Okay. And I'll just set it equal to be nil for now, right? We could also do this. It's the exact same thing, but just to make this code a bit more readable, I'll just say nil. And so here, when it actually determines that, yes, the player has successfully, verified their country, then we say, okay, yeah, player country is now equal to this thing. And another benefit of this is now we know if the player's country was actually found or not. So if the player's country wasn't found, we could do something like if player country is still equal to nil, then what we're going to do is we're going to say player, and we're going to kick the player with like a message, couldn't find country, rejoin and try again. And then we're also going to return. So return will just completely end this function, and it's not going to go any further. So great, so now we know that the player country is not nil, because if it was, then we would just end it off over here. So then we can safely say, okay, the text will be equal to, the player country. And then finally we could say GUI.parent is equal to, so we'll parent it to the character's head. Character.head like so. So let's actually try this out. If I play the game, hopefully it's not gonna... Damn, yeah, it just doesn't work for some reason. You know what I actually think it is? Because I'm running the game on my own computer, so meaning that the servers are running on my Wi-Fi. My Wi-Fi sometimes is kind of bad, so I think it's like unable to connect to the website. And because of that, I think it like causes a little delay or something. So I think that's why it doesn't work sometimes. So in a real Roblox game, this should all be fine, right? But if I play the game right now, there we go, Canada. And yeah, great, look at that. So it just says Canada. And then wait, if I reset my character, let's see. What's gonna happen? There we go, great. All right, sick. And now really all we have to do then is just add teams, right? Now, obviously we can't have all of the countries in the team right off the bat. The system that I want to make is, so for example, right, let's say if I join the game, right, Canada, there we go. What I want the game to do is I want the game to check what country I'm from. I want the game to then check whether that team already exists. And if it doesn't, then it creates that team, right? Or if the team already exists, then it just places me inside of that team. And then another thing that I wanted to do is, let's say whenever I leave the game, if I was the only person in Team Canada, and then I leave the game, then I want the game to check like, okay, how many players are inside of Team Canada? Oh, 0. Okay, so then we're gonna delete Team Canada. And you might think that we shouldn't because, it might delete the score, but the way that teams have score is that when a player leaves with score, I'm pretty sure that score gets like taken away as well from the team. I'm not actually too sure, like I'll be honest, I haven't really used teams that often, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. So if a team has no players, it's gonna have no score, right? So it's gonna be okay to delete it. So then what I'm gonna do is this. First of all, we need to understand whether a team like that already exists. So I'm gonna say for I in game.teams get children. So we're gonna loop through every single item inside of teams, and v in this case is the value, so like the item that we're looping through. So I can just call this t for teams, I guess. And then we're gonna say if t.name is equal to the player country, then we're gonna say player.team is equal to this team. Wait, sorry, I messed this up completely. This is not what we should do. I have no idea why I did this. Sorry, I'm so used to using loops constantly that I use them when I really shouldn't have. What you do instead, which is a lot better, is you do game.teams, find first child, and then you give it the player country. So this is how I'll do it. If game.teams, if we can find something with the name player country, then this is where we say, okay, now player.team is going to be game teams find for child player country, right? So this is where we place the player inside of the appropriate team. Else, if we cannot find, the team with the same name as the player's country, this is where we say local new team is equal to instance.new team, not text label, damn, team, there we go. I'll say new team dot, let's change the color first, so team color is equal to, and I believe this uses a brick color, so I'll just say brick color dot random. And this is actually where we can take this color and apply it to the text as well. So I can just quickly say GUI text label text color is equal to the player dot team color. I'm going to say new team.name is obviously going to be the name of the player country. And then finally, I'll say new team.parent is equal to game.teams, like so. And then finally, player.team is equal to new team. And the very last thing I'll do is game players, player removing connect function. So now whenever the player leaves the game, we want to check if they were the last player on that team. So I'm going to say local player team is going to be equal to player.team.name. So I'll just get the name of the team. I'm gonna say if not player team, so if there's no name for some reason, then we're just gonna return end. So what we have to do is we have to get all of the players who are inside of that team, right? Which is actually very easy to do. I didn't even know you could do this. Game.team get players like so. So this will return a table of all of the players who are part of the team. So I'm gonna call it player table like so. Now, something that I'm unsure about is whether it's still because the player is leaving right now, right? And what I want to do is I want to check whether there's 0 players inside of this team. However, what if while the player is leaving, it still considers the player part of the team because the player technically hasn't left the game yet, and then it still thinks that there's one player in the team, and then I say, okay, there's one player, meaning that we shouldn't be deleting the team, and then the player leaves right after I do that line of code. So what I'll do is I'll actually check, I'll print the number of items inside of the player PLR table, like so. Yeah, so let's just quickly try this, because right now I'm inside of this team that I made, and then if I leave the game, let's see. Attempt to index nil with name. Oh, right, wait, I completely forgot, because we're making the team here, right? I genuinely completely forgot that we did that. Okay, so that's another thing with the script not working sometimes. Again, I have no clue why it's doing this, but okay, Canada. I actually quite like this color. I think it looks pretty nice. And okay, now if I leave the game, let's just see this. Attempt to index nil with name. Interesting. Is it nil because of the team, or is it nil because the player doesn't exist anymore? Let's just try this out. Canada is green. I quite like this color as well. But let's see, if I leave the game. Okay, so yeah, it didn't do any of this, meaning that player team was not real. Alright, so honestly, I don't know exactly what it's doing. Maybe when the player leaves the game, perhaps their team automatically like gets removed from them as well. So I can actually test this out. Print player team. So let's just test this out. If I play the game, Canada, great. Didn't make the team for some reason. No clue why it's doing that. Nil. Yeah, there we go. So I think then a better way to do this would just be to loop through all of the existing teams. So game, .teams, get children, do. And V in this case is going to be the actual team we're looping through. So I'll just rename this to T for short. And then here we could say if T gets players. And then we want to check if there's 0 players on the team. So I'll say hashtag get players is equal to 0. Then T destroy N. So just for fun, let's see. If I leave the game, can we actually see this thing disappearing? No, we can't. Okay, that's kind of stupid, but okay. All right, I will just assume that this thing works. And so, okay, there we go. We're done with the script. So I will just have to delete this default team that I made. But yeah, so now whenever I join the game, yeah, it doesn't work sometimes because, again, Studio is just being stupid. But yeah, there we go, Canada. And now look, I'm part of Team Canada. And even if I reset my character, this thing above my head works fine. Great, that's pretty cool. Now, something that we also need is to add score to the player. And the way we can do this is to say local leader stats, like so. Damn, I completely butchered that. Leader stats, and I'll make it a folder. So instance.new folder, like so. Leader stats.name is going to be equal exactly the same, so it's going to be equal to leader stats. And this is how you can add score to a leaderboard. So I'll say score instance.new int value, and I'll parent it to the leader stats folder. I'm going to say score.name is equal to score, like so. And then finally, leader stats.parent is equal to the player. So if I do it like this, then it's actually going to show me the score. There we go. Right, so I have a score of 0, so does my team. And damn, Roblox says people here. that actually fits quite well. And so now all that we have to do is just find some objective that the players can play with. And I actually have a perfect objective that I think would be pretty fun. What if we had a part that's anchored, right? That's not collidable, so something like this. And it'll be a 2x2x2 cube, like so. And so for fun, what if we have just like 4 of these parts? We get like 1 green, 1 red. We gotta have a purple one, of course. And then we have like a cyan, bluish one, kind of. And so then what I'll do is I'll just add a click detector to every single part so that we can detect, you guessed it, when someone has clicked on the part. And then I can just make another script inside of the server script service, which I will call part script. And I'm gonna say for iv in workspace dot folder get children, do. And then for every single item, we want to detect when they have been clicked. So I'll say v dot click detector. And I actually don't remember exactly what the event is called, but let me see. Instance.new click detector, mouse click, I believe. Yeah, it's called mouse click. So click detector dot mouse click. And the reason it's not autofilling here is because it doesn't know what we're going to be looping through. It doesn't know what's inside of the folder, right? So we're just going to have to be very smart here and rely on our own intuition. Connect function, like so. And then this should give us the player who actually pressed on the part. And again, I believe that it's going to do that, right? This is pretty stupid. But click detector, mouse click, connect function. Yeah, player who clicked. There we go. Great. And so what we're going to do is we're going to say player, wait for child. Leader stats, like so. Then another wait for child, this time for score, and then we're going to increase the value by 1. And then we're going to take the part, so v dot position, and then we're just going to move it to some random position. So I'm thinking math.random -100 +100. For Y, which is how like high it is, I think it could just be like 5 studs above the base plate. And then for Z, it could be another 100, 100, like so. And I'm actually gonna do this in the very beginning as well. So I'm gonna give it a random position in the very beginning. So my idea here is that whenever I play the game, so I hope it shows my country. No, it doesn't. Okay, let's try one more time. There we go, Canada. Okay, so it's just gonna have these parts that are just in like a random position. And if I click this, there we go. Look at that. And the click detector range might be like adjusted to make it a bit shorter. But yeah, look at that. So now it's like score, yeah, 3, 4. Let's see, what if I spam my mouse like really, really hard? Let's see, is it gonna... Yeah, okay, I'm spamming my mouse, but it's not actually increasing the score by anything more than 1, so that's pretty good. Yeah, there we go. So that's my fun and amazing game. We just have these funny little parts that are spawning like that, and then you have to go and pick them up. I guess actually instead of 5, we could do math.random 1 all the way to 10. Okay, let's see, how is this gonna look like? Canada, deep blue, interesting. Okay, so if I click this, let's see. Yep, there goes my score. Red, another purple. That's pretty fun. Now, a way to make this more fun is you probably could add a new part for every single like country that's inside of the game. And I do actually want to make this into a real game, and I do want people to play. Like, I'll leave a link to this game in the description. So I might actually add that as a feature. But for now, I think it's fine, you know, because look, the parts aren't being deleted, they're just being, you know, shifted. So I think this is okay. But yeah, so now we have an objective. You have your country, you know, it has a name on here, which again, with a dark color, it looks kind of stupid, but, you know, it's readable. And yes, now you can join the game and have people from China, people from Russia, people from America, Canada. I don't know, what other countries there? Oh yeah, Africa. Africa's a country, right? So yeah, Africa. Yeah, because like I said before, right? This is what people love doing, right? People love defending their own territories, their countries. And again, I'm not condoning war, but I really thought this would make for a fun Roblox game. Like, you know, not to be insensitive, but you get where I'm coming from, right? Like, this is pretty cool. You know, you get to play with other people around the world. And, you know, obviously the countries with the most players would win. Like, I'm sure that players from America would probably have the upper hand as opposed to someone from Azerbaijan or something like that. But, you know, it's still kind of fun. And if you are that one guy from Azerbaijan, then maybe you can represent your country well as a solo Azerbaijanian, or whatever the term is. But yeah, look, I will actually make this into a real game, and I will publish the link in the description and the pinned comment, which does mean I have to save it to Roblox, unfortunately, but that's just the way it works. If you did actually enjoy this, do leave a comment. You know, let me know your thoughts, because, you know, comments are nice. Like I said earlier, do subscribe, it does help. If you are a beginner developer, and if you found this somewhat helpful, like if you were watching this and you were like, damn, I like this guy's teaching style, I actually learned a lot from this, and I'd love to learn more. I'd love to learn just the ins and outs of Roblox Studio, you know, or like, you know, I just love to learn how to start developing in Roblox in general. I have a $30 course, so it was 60 bucks, now it's 30 bucks. And not because sales were low, because some people were saying that. Not because sales were low. Just because I did think 60 bucks was a bit too much. People were complaining. They were like, bro, I want to buy the course, but it's too expensive. So now it's 50% off forever, which is also in the link in the description. So do go check that out. And let's see, is there anything else I have to sell you? Not sell you, but I got an Instagram, also in the link in the description. I got a podcast if you want to listen to. Again, I have a bunch of stuff, right? And again, that's also linked in the description and the pinned comment. I have a Discord, obviously, so, you know, go join that. But yeah, again, you know, do leave a comment. Do let me know what you think, because I actually did have fun making this, and I think this serves as a pretty fun video idea, or not even a video idea, it's just a game idea in general. I feel like there's way too many team games out there now that don't really feel good. Like, yeah, I'm on team 1, amazing, but like, I don't care about team 1. I do care about my own country. So yeah, I definitely feel like something like this could be toxic really quickly, but, you know, that's always pretty fun. But yeah, you know, I hope you enjoyed this. Again, check out the game in the description and the pinned comment, because it should be linked there, and, you know, share it with your friends, share the video with your friends, go mess around. And as always, we're back to basics. Thank you for watching.